Welcome everyone to the patch 16.4 meta prediction by BrosephTech. In this video, I'll be going over how I believe the meta is going to pan out based on an initial reading of the changes in the patch notes, alongside some interpretation of stats I've collected across some PBE scrims. This is the tier list I'm going to go with. I've shown all comps that are A tier or higher. As you can see, I think that Void Kaisa, Bilgewater, Slayers will be the best non-conditional comps. Kind of conditional, depending on your definition. Ishto reroll will be good. Yunara, Seraphine Braum, Disruptor Flex, Ishto Brock, AD Fast 9, Callista, Demacia Lux, Bruiser Failure, and Warwick will all also be very good comps that you can play in the next patch. A lot of A tier comps. I'll also say that the A tier comps and S tier comps are kind of close in power. So if you get a good spot to play Yunara or a good spot to play Callista or Shadow Isles, I think those are fairly good opportunities to take. And if you like playing any of these A tier comps, I would recommend learning them as well. Like if you really like playing Warwick, learn Warwick well and play it a lot in the next patch. I think that will be a good strategy to take onto your ladder climb. All right, I'm gonna cover some of the big changes first. So first off, level 9 XP revert. In the last patch 16.3, they made level 9 8 gold more expensive. This patch, the change is being reverted, so they're reducing the cost of level 9 by 8 gold. This resulted in some funny things happening with people capping their boards on 3-star 4 costs fairly commonly, especially with some of the augments that give a lot of gold and a lot of rerolls. On this patch, they're also nerfing a lot of those augments too. So augments like Commerce Core are getting tuned down in how many rerolls they give you. I think Reinforcements is getting tuned down with how much gold it gives you. Those augments will be made quite a bit worse on this patch compared to the last patch. So if you ever see any of those augments, they will be weaker, which will also make it more difficult to hit 3-star 4 costs. Next, 3 cost odds in level 9. They're also upping 3 cost odds in level, not level 9, level 7, because 3 costs have not done very well this patch. 3 costs do fine if you're trying to 2-star them, but if you ever try to 3-star them, usually you just lose the game because you don't go level 8, you don't make your board stronger, and it doesn't end up going very well. I think this helps support already good 3 cost comps like DT Mal's, which is Double Trouble Mal's, and Draven Reroll, who also got a buff this patch. But I think a lot of other comps like Gwen Reroll or some other like garbage 3 cost comps won't become significantly better on this patch. It may be the case that 3 cost reroll becomes very popular as these comps become much more popular and optimized, but I would be surprised if that was the case. I would stick with my prediction that the 4 cost comps are still going to dominate the meta, with occasional 3 cost comps being viable. All right, I'm now going to cover the comp-specific nerfs. This doesn't cover all of them, but it covers all of them that I deem to be important. So number 1, Yunara's attack speed on cast is getting nerfed. So every time she casts, she gets a burst of attack speed for that duration. That is being toned down. Next, for Piltover, Acceleration Gate is nerfed, which is it was the strongest Piltover mod at the 4 Piltover tier. It's getting nerfed from giving a 40% mana refund down to 35%. Seraphine List is also getting bug fixed. So there was a bug that granted bonus damage that made them do more damage than was intended. That bug is being fixed, and Rift Herald health gain is being nerfed. For comp-specific buffs, 2 and 4 Gunslinger are being buffed, so that helps MF a little bit, is the main user late game. It also helps the Gunslingers early game a little bit, so Jhin, Tristana should both be a little bit stronger at earlier levels. Tahm Kench unlock is being moved down to 450 serpents from 500, so it is easier to get Tahm Kench. Usually this results in you getting it 1 turn earlier, which is actually fairly significant because it's 1 more turn to feed him, 1 more turn to stack, 1 more turn to eat some units and potentially give you components or gold, which are all useful. Ambessa damage buff, the specific part that's being buffed is her spell cast is going to do more damage specifically to tanks, which is really useful. In compensation, she's being nerfed on her reset damage. So Ambessa has a mechanic where she resets, and after every time she kills a unit, she gets the cast again. That cast damage is being brought down by a little bit. Jinx damage is slightly buffed. Bard damage is also slightly buffed. So for the predicted implications, here's what I'm calling for the next patch. This may be wrong. This is based on relatively low sample size and just my thoughts on how the patch will go. But I think Slayers is going to be brought up to S tier. I think for most levels of play, Bilge will be brought up to S tier, especially in Challenger or higher. I think Yunara is going to be brought down to A tier, and I think Piltover Seraphine is also being brought down to A tier. Let's talk about the S tier comps now. Yeah, so Void, Kaisa, Bilge, MF, Slayers. I'm going to talk about the top 3 comps, which are the ones that you should have your eye out for learning on the next patch. Void Kaisa. Void Kaisa is a fairly strong comp this patch and will continue to be strong next patch, my guess. The Rift Herald nerf, I think, is a reasonable nerf. It lowers its HP by a little bit. I do think that the nerfs towards the other top comps are larger, and because of that, this comp will be better or be similarly strength as a result. The fact that level 9 is made cheaper also helps this comp because you can cap on things like Volibear 2, Shyvana 2, Ziggs 2. Those units are all very useful for this comp to have on level 9, and the fact that those are being changed and they're now easier to access helps this comp, I think. So in terms of where you want to play this comp, the comp should be played generally when you have Void on 2-1. In my sheet that I should have linked in the description, I have a general tier list of what mods you want to have and which mods are better than which. For AD Kai'Sa, Spitter Spines is the best for AP Kai'Sa. I believe Leeching is the best. Spitter Spines is also very good for AP Kai'Sa. If you have Adrenaline modules, which is damage amp on attack, the AP one is a little bit better than AD. I think also if you're running AD Kai'Sa, it can be good to try to play the 6 Void version sometimes, or to at least try to have a dual carry, like extra items on the Volibear to help you clean up some of the units that are hard to kill, such as like big tanks or leftover units that Kai'Sa can't quite finish with her cast. All right, Bilgewater Misfortune. So I believe that Bilgewater is going to be back. The spot that you want to play Bilgewater from should probably still be a strong Bilge opener, which means that you want to have at least one of Shen 2 or Illaoi 2 on your board to have a good frontline. And then the trait gives you the rest of the units that you can acquire later. So having Shen 2 is especially good because you can buy Illaoi 2, you can buy Graves 2, you can buy TF2. Those are all units that are strong for the comp. On your initial level 8 roll down, you're probably going to be targeting playing 7 Bilge plus 1 premium tank. This doesn't have to be Wukong. It can be Taric, it can be Swain, it can be Braum. Those units are all good in place of this slot, but I just put Wukong as an example because I think he should technically be the strongest until you find Tahm Kench. You're going to be primarily carrying Misfortune with extra utility items on TF and tank items. If you get an overflow of items, you can put some items on Fizz is okay, or especially if you get either Kindred or Senna early, you're going to be wanting to put more items on those units early as they're fairly good carries in this comp as well. Usually, you drop out of 7 Bilge the moment you get Tahm Kench. After you get Tahm Kench, you should no longer care about having 7 Bilgewater in because by that point, you've kind of bought all the important things. You also don't want to be losing forever, so you want to try to improve your board. This is the max cap version of Bilgewater. Technically, you could play Volibear over Wukong, but it's like a small difference, I think. This comp runs items primarily on MF. It runs the secondary carry items on either Lucian Senna, or you can run them on Kindred. Tank items can go on Swain, Wukong, or Tahm Kench, and Tahm Kench should generally be itemized and regularly fed with either AD or AP in order to make sure that he can print stuff and like eat units and stay alive for as long as possible. This fiddle can be Fizz for a while. It can be a variety of other units as well. It can be Taric. This slot is just like the flex slot that you can have in this slot. Fiddle is the best one because he can lower the armor and MR of all your opponents. He also has a stun built into him, which is very powerful when combined with the Swain stun as well. Last comp here on this list is Slayers. Slayers benefited in the patch by some of its counters being nerfed. So like Kai'Sa wasn't an amazing matchup. Yunara was not an amazing matchup, and now those are a little bit weaker. This comp primarily carries Ambessa and Belveth, and Ambessa is meaningfully stronger now in this patch, which is pretty good for the comp. This is the Void version of the comp, so you're going to be running 4 Void. One of the mods go on Belveth, the other goes in the Rift Herald. You main tank Rift Herald, and then you put your carry items on Belveth and Ambessa. The comp is very good with combat augments and especially item augments as well. So if you can take some combination of item and combat augments second and third, it's very good. Typically, you'll be playing Slayers from an opener that involves Qiyana. Qiyana is the best general item holder for Ambessa and Belveth. She is very strong with all items that go in these units like QSS, Kraken Slayer, Deathblade, Hand of Justice, BT. These are all fairly good items on Qiyana, which I'd be pretty happy to have. She beats most of the other 1-cost carries at an equal star level. So if you can get a strong Qiyana opener with Qiyana, Blitzcrank, Briar, that's the typical sign that you want to play this comp. Having a lot of defensive components is also actually a fairly good indication to play this comp because a lot of the good items that in this comp are made out of those tank components. So like Chain makes Titans and Edge Knight, Cloak makes Even Shroud and Quicksilver and Kraken Slayer. So those are all like really good items in the comp that you can only have good access to if you start with those defensive components. This is a quick variation of the board if you don't have Rift Herald. Some of these slots are flexible. I think more commonly you see people play Illaoi for a while over the Wukong slot. I think that's perfectly good, especially if you need some economy. But after you get like some stuff out of Bilge, if you're not going for Gangplank 3 especially, you want to try to upgrade that Bruiser slot into Wukong 2 if you can get it. If it's like Illaoi 2 versus Wukong 1, you should probably just stay on the Illaoi 1 or the Illaoi 2 to continue to generate you gold. And then this Braum slot can also be a lot of different units as long as it gives you sufficient frontline. This Braum slot can be Loris 2 if you have it. It can be Taric 2. It can be Rek'Sai for Void if you have like another sufficient tank. This slot can be kind of whatever, but I think if you have Braum 2, you should probably play it on the board and put your main tank items on that Braum because he is very strong. All right, that's it for my meta prediction. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, make sure to follow and subscribe for more.